Peace, love, and prosperity to all of humanity on planet Earth. This is Abdul Smith Al Kabir, Sultan of the Empire of Morocco. And today, which is November 23rd, Sunday, November 23rd, our second session, our second open class discussion of the month. Just getting started back up with the virtual classroom, something that I've always enjoyed. And I'm back at it again. So today we'll be discussing matters regarding decolonization and the forward progress. So let's talk about what is a non-self-governing territory. What else will we be talking about? We would also talk about the Pacific settlement of disputes, as well as the er, oh, that was here, right here, the C-24 Special Committee on Decolonization. So we'll begin this with this short read regarding the Special Committee on Decolonization. This is something that everyone can pull up, like right now as we speak. You guys can have it pulled up and read over it as we go through it and discuss it. Um, it's not customary in the regarding the historical precedent of decolonization. Um, all of these African nations, all these islands, all these countries that have decolonized throughout the 50s and the 60s, what mechanism did they use in order to accomplish the task? Someone want to take a shot at it? What mechanism did they use in order to accomplish the decolonization task? Did they use the courts, the international tribunals, or did they use the United Nations, the trusteeship system?
I'm under the impression that they used the C-24.
Correct. Although at the time it was the trusteeship system. Okay. Can I get a reader to read the Special Committee on Decolonization, starting with that title?
It was Special Committee on Decolonization. All right. Rakeem,
15.
good brother, that might be your phone. That might be your phone. Click the button on your phone if you can't hear anything, because we're presentation has started. So please check your phone. All right. Passage required a 2/3 majority at referendum. Oh, that changes.
Yeah,
All right.
that's the subtitle to these pictures. Don't worry about that. Just go straight to
All
the
right.
read.
All
Hmm.
right. The Special Committee on the Situation with regard to the implementation of the Declaration on the Granting of Independence to Colonial Countries and Peoples is also known as the Special Committee on Decolonization, or C-24. The C-24 was established in 1961 by the General Assembly as its subsidiary organ devoted to the issue of decolonization, pursuant to GA Resolution 1654, 16 of 27 November 1961.
Hold that right there. So you see what it says here. It says the Special Committee on the Situation with regards to what the implementation of the Declaration on the Granting. So it was based on the. Okay, you see. So the C-24, the Special Committee, right? It's them. It's through them that Resolution 1514 is implemented. Let's read it again. The Special Committee on the Situation with regard to the implementation of the Declaration on the Granting of Independence of Colonial Countries and Peoples. That's the Resolution 1514, right? Granting of independence to colonial countries. See, the Empire of Morocco was colonized. And peoples. The Moors have been colonized. So our country and us as a people have been colonized, right? It's also known as the Special Committee on Decolonization, or C-24. The C-24 was established in 1961, okay, by the General Assembly as its subsidiary organ devoted to the issue of decolonization. So the C-24 is who's devoted, that's the committee that's devoted to what issue? The issue of decolonization, pursuant to Resolution 1654 of 27 November 1961. Continue, C-24 mandate.
In accordance with General Assembly Resolution 1654, Article 16, the C-24 was mandated to examine the application of the Declaration on the Granting of Independence to Colonial Countries and Peoples. General Assembly.
Point of interest. That's not Article 16. That's a code for 1654.
Oh,
It's a legal
1654. Oh,
code.
Islam.
It's a legal code for 1654, but that's not an article. Okay.
No, pardon, self.
Continue.
I'm gonna start it over. In accordance with General Assembly Resolution 1654, the C-24 was mandated to examine the application of the Declaration on the Granting of Independence to Colonial Countries and Peoples, General Assembly Resolution 1514 of 14 December 1960, hereafter referred to as the Declaration. And number two, that's number two, to make suggestions and recommendations on the progress and extent of the implementation of the Declaration. The C-24 commenced its work in 1962. The C-24 annually reviews the list of non-self-governing territories to which the Declaration is applicable. It also hears statements from representatives of the non-self-governing territories at its annual sessions, dispatches visiting missions to non-self-governing territories, and annually organizes regional seminars.
Hold that thought. Pause right there. Let's take it to the top. So, in accordance with the General Assembly Resolution 1654, the C-24 was mandated to examine the application. So we have to submit an application. And the C-24 shall examine that application. Since June 8, 2024, we have not done that, not even close. We don't even talk about this. The only thing we talk about is this right here, Pacific Settlement of Disputes. We'll get back to that, though. All we talk about. We don't talk about the application that needs to be submitted to the C-24. And who's the vote? What organization on planet Earth? I'll ask it again. We just read it. See if y'all paying attention. Not you, Rashid. You can't answer this. What international body is devoted to decolonization?
The General Assembly?
The UN. No and no.
The C-24.
The C-24.
It started with the Trusteeship Council, and then it kind of degraded down to Committee 24.
Mm-hmm.
I got a question for you, though. Just to flush that out a little bit more, the Trusteeship Council. I'm assuming the colonizers are the trustees of the land, and this was a council to kind of govern them in the process of decolonization?
Yes and no.
Okay.
It's half yes and half no. The other half of the story is that the colonial countries and people needed to rise up and submit the application to then invoke the assistance of the C-24. They're not just going to assist you just on GP. GP meaning general purposes. No, you got to first submit the application, and then you bring them into the fold of the mechanisms to which they're devoted to. But you first got to make the claim, i.e., submit the application. Make sense?
Yes, yeah. They had to colonized people had to demonstrate their aspiration to want to
Mhm.
decolonize by submitting the applications according to 102. Um, I understand.
Yes, indeed. Okay. So examine the application of the Declaration on the granting of independence to colonial countries and peoples, which is Resolution 1514 of 14 December 1960, hereafter referred to as the Declaration. And two, to make suggestions and recommendations on the progress and extent of the implementation of the Declaration. You see, this is where that liaison comes in, to make suggestions and recommendations on the progress. We haven't began that progress. No more, and Al-Maghrib al-Aqsa has begun that process yet. Maybe, maybe Empress Verdadici of the Washita. I'm not fully erudite in whatever process that she underwent to get UN recognition. But it mystifies me that the Washita Empire is not governing. Well, we know why they were placed in a trick bag. I remember a lot of I had two teachers of mine, Moorish American teachers, who went uh to Louisiana to meet with Empress Bertadici back in the early 90s, in the early 90s, when this thing was starting to pop off. Well, guess who was heavily um in the building, politicking and slithering around, according to my teachers, the Clock of Destiny Moors. My teachers, they were very uneasy with the way they were conducting themselves and some nefarious things that they said that they were doing. Well, you fast forward and you see where it's at. The progress of the Washita has been stagnated, because otherwise they would have been able to maintain their governance, but they're not. Um, not or at least not as a sovereign and independent state. But then the treaty doesn't recognize Washita. See, that's the other consideration. Whatever recognition they received was based on the fact that there were indigenous people who were non-self-governing, seeking a level of independence and self-governance. So if the ICJ comes in for an advisory opinion on the matter, they're not going to look at any treaties. They're only going to look at the uh, international agreements, the UN agreements, whether it be the rights of indigenous people, but more specifically, Resolution 1514, amongst other documents. But the Resolution 1514 is the supreme law of decolonization, not the rights of indigenous people, not the rights of the child or anything like that. It's Resolution 1514 is specific. That particular agreement preempts any and all agreements, international agreements dealing with decolonization. That's the main document. Also, Resolution 1541, which gives you the understanding as to which status you want to establish yourself as, whether it be independent, or no, I'm sorry. Well, yeah, you could say that sovereignty and independence as an external state, the highest designation. Free association, the second designation, and then integration. Well, we've already been through integration, right? We know about the '60s under Martin Luther King. We already underwent the integration aspect, which we're still in, or most of our people are. What we seek to maintain or to establish is sovereignty and independence as an external state. Okay? These things are important to understand because the lack of knowledge of that can have you in a trick bag as a free association, which means the United States has the sovereign authority over you or over us. And we don't want that. We need to get back to the treaties. The treaties recognize the empire and the Moors as having the sovereign authority. Okay. Um. So as we continue, the C-24 commenced its work in 1962. The C-24 annually reviews the list of non-self-governing territories to which the declaration is applicable. Right. So you've got to be a non-self-governing territory in order for that declaration to be applicable. It also hears statements from representatives of the non-self-governing territory. So we need a representative. Who's our representative? Do we have a
Mofa,
representative? Who's our representative?
Mofa, Minister of Foreign
No,
Affairs.
no, sir.
The Attorney General?
The
No,
Sultan.
The Sultan,
no,
not the Sultan.
no. Someone was appointed. Someone
The prime
requested.
minister,
No, it could be
not the
whoever
prime
you choose.
minister.
No,
Speaker of the
someone.
House.
One of our wazirs volunteered for that spot, and that would be the wazir of Ali Bamu,
Oh yeah,
DJ
DJ
Alexander.
Bay,
Correct.
Islam.
DJ Alexander Bay is going to be our representative
Islam.
on behalf of myself and well, really the Empire of Morocco as a whole. Now, the MOFA, our Minister of Foreign Affairs, he's working with DJ to put the package together. But you need a representative, as you see here. And DJ Alexander volunteered for that spot. In fact, he called me adamantly, Sultan, I want to be the representative. I was like, Islam, brother, we appreciate you. Okay. So yeah, as it says, it also hears statements from representatives. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be just him, it could be others. Because you see here, it's plural representatives, right, of the non-self-governing territories, and at its annual sessions, dispatches visiting missions to non-self-governing territories, and annually organizes regional seminars. So it dispatches visiting missions. The brother Chief Curry from a Kampong, ACOMPOG, a Kampong State Republic, which is a maroon state, right, out of Jamaica. They had a visiting mission that showed up. And the brother was rocking a fez, by the way, in case you guys didn't know. So that means that he went through the procedures necessary to um, uh, summon them as a visiting mission to this non-self-governing territory, which in that case, it was the Kongpong, which is within the territory that we know as Jamaica. Well, there's a certain section that belongs to a Kongpong, in case you guys didn't know that. All right, good brother. Read the last paragraph, and then we'll move on to the next subject.
Sure. C-24 membership and bureau. Currently, the C-24 consists of 29 members, See members page for details. The officers of the C-24 are called the Bureau, which consists of the chair, vice chairs, and rapporteur.
Repertoire, yeah.
Repertoire. For more information on the C-24 Bureau, see Bureau page.
Okay. This right here is the infographic Special Committee on Decolonization, this document here on the right. But let's look at the non-self-governing territories. Go ahead and read that right there, good brother.
Non-self-governing territories. Under Chapter 6 of the Charter of the United Nations, the non-self-governing territories are defined as territories whose people have not yet attained a full measure of self-government. The General Assembly, by its Resolution 66 of 14 December 1946, noted a list of 72 territories to which Chapter 6 of the Charter applied. In 1963, the Special Committee on the Situation with regard to the implementation of the Declaration on the Granting of Independence to Colonial Countries and Peoples, also known as the Special Committee on Decolonization, or the C-24, approved a preliminary list of territories to which the Declaration applied. Today, 17 non-self-governing territories, as listed below, remain on the agenda of the C-24. Member states which have or assume responsibilities for the administration of such territories are called administering powers.
Read that last sentence again.
Member states which have or assume responsibilities for the administration of such territories are called administering powers.
Remember that statement. Now let's take a look at this map. What do you see? You see France, United Kingdom, Western Sahara, Bermuda, Gibraltar, United States, Cayman Islands, United States Virgin Islands, right? These are all non-self-governing territories. Now, let's look at the list. Can somebody tell me, where do you see the United States?
The bottom.
Right here. United States Virgin Islands, 1946. What does it say here? Listing as non-self-governing territories, right? Administering power, right? And then the population. So on the left here, listing as non-self-governing. So when were they listed as non-self-governing territories? A lot of these people have been listed as non-self-governing territories for a very long time, 1946. Administering powers, mostly United Kingdom, right? But you see United States Virgin Islands, United States, Gibraltar, United Kingdom. We know that the Moors went through the Strait of Gibraltar to get to Spain from Africa, right? Okay. The Pacific. What do we see for Pacific? American Samoa. Who's the administering power? United States. French Polynesia, France. Okay. Guam, United States. But what about the inland of the United States, though? What's up with that? These are all islands, colonized islands. Let's go over it again. United States Virgin Islands, American Samoa, which is just really Samoa. But through colonialism, they added American Samoa. And those brothers they look just like us. They're just kind of like big boned. And I'm not even being funny. I used to live in Hawaii. A lot of people in it's a nice culture mix. You got Guamanians, you got Samoans, you got Filipinos, and so on and so forth. I had a lot of Samoan friends. Those are some big boys and gals, you know. And they would have, I forgot what it's called. It's not a luau, but It's a um, cuisine that they cook outdoors. They dig a hole and they basically roast a pig in that hole. It's very interesting, and they'll gobble it. I mean, from the rooter to the tutor. So they're kind of like big bone. Okay, Guam, a lot of Guamanians as well. United States. These are all islands, not the mainland. So why is it that the mainland United States, which is Morocco, why is the mainland not recognized as a non-self-governing territory? Somebody want to? Someone wants to answer that? Or take a
Uh,
guess. Take a wild guess. Why is it that the inland
Trying to
so-called
hide,
United?
trying to hide
What's
it,
that?
trying to hide it, cover it up.
Okay, no. Somebody else?
No
because
Yes
they
representative.
and yes and no. Go ahead,
No
Those
bro.
are not
representative.
jurisdictions of the United States. The United States, the land here that we are on, is not jurisdictions of the United States. The District of Columbia. So the District of Columbia takes care of Puerto Rico, Guam, Samoas, Washington, D.C., I think, and the Alaskans. And I think everything here is ran by the Congress, right?
Yeah, but you're overthinking.
because the United States knows it's in Morocco, and Morocco is the I don't know.
Okay. Someone else?
We don't have a representative or didn't.
Go deeper into that answer. Why we don't have a representative?
Because
Corporation.
we've been in a shallow grave.
We
Okay.
wrote ourselves away from law, calling ourselves black and all these color words and all these other words,
Okay.
forfeiting our territories and ourselves.
Acquiesced to American jurisdiction and American nationality. But the real answer is because no one somebody named Chong Ball, I think that's what it says. Needs to mute themselves, please. No one in the Al-Maghrib al-Aqsa. No one in the Al-Maghrib al-Aqsa, Morocco of the farthest west, none of the indigenous colonized peoples have invoked. Someone got to mute themselves, please. Chong Ball. Chong Ball. I need you to mute yourself if you don't mind, please.
Whoever has the host can mute.
I got the host, but I can't. I can't teach and do the host. So what was I? No one in the Al Maghrib al Aqsa, Morocco of the farthest west, has applied right through the C-24 to recognize the inland United States as non-self-governing. Why? Because of what one of the brothers said. They're hiding it. Well, how are they hiding it? Somebody tell me that. How is it that the United States are able to hide that they're a non-self-governing territory?
It goes back a long ways when they start teaching us that we are black, Negroes, colored, African American, and we think we've been thinking a long time that we come from Africa, and we don't.
They put it
No,
in a book.
no, the first answer. What Buck said. That's why. That's what. And they put that in the book. I mean, you're right. That's how they miseducated us is through the books, whether it be academia or general books that the Moors love to read as literature to say you're American because the land was Al Marokano and Amaru Khan and Amaru and all these words. Anything but Moroccan, anything but Morocco. They try to bring you back to America. They try to bring you back to the American mindset. So they tell you, oh, the ancient name of this land was Maruka or Amaruk and all these things. But when you go in the treaty, you don't see none of that. What you see is Empire Morocco. Um, one of our teachers, master teacher, Tashariq Bey, would put the word al in front of Moroccan to say that the word American comes from al Moroccan. So therefore we're al Moroccan. Foolishness like that. If the
I'm gonna put that
connotative
spray can
linguistic,
over your head. That spray
what was
can
that?
in the window. Put it over your head.
What was that, Keith?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm driving my truck. I meant to be
Oh,
muted.
you gotta be on mute, bro. If the
Okay.
connotative linguistic is American and the denotative linguistic is Moroccan, al Moroccan, why even say American? If the denotative linguistic is black and the connotative linguistic is more, you say don't say black. Say that you're more. That's the denotative linguistic. Okay, well, the same thing for the land. The people were misclassified, and so was the land. The people in the land are one. We spring from the soil. Is it the ground? Isn't the dirt copper colored? Isn't it brown?
Right.
And so are we. We are a product of the soil. So if you're not going to misclassify the people and just leave the name of the land intact. You're going to misclassify both to serve your agenda of misinformation and disinformation to get you in the mindset of being an African. Like what good brother Buck said, this is how they've been hiding it. They misclassified the people, they misclassified the land. And then they use their CIA operations to further misinform you. Oh, you think you're American now? Or you think you're indigenous now, right? Because the people have started in the last 20 years, really credit goes to the Moorish Americans. Because previous to that, it was all about Africa, Black Power, Black, going back to Africa, Marcus Garvey going back to Africa, red, black, and green. Trust me, I know. I've been a part of this thing for a very long time. And in the
Right.
last 15 years or so, it's been this rush of knowledge and information in which the people are now starting to spew out of their mouths that they're indigenous to over here. So they caught on. Well, let's write books for them, ghostwrite them, and give some author the credit. So here goes this book and that book and this book and that book that says that the ancient name was some variation of American, Amadu Khan, and all this and that. And then we start to say, oh, the ancient name was Amadu Khan. Even if you were to say land of milk and honey, Turtle Island. Well, this is not an island, so I don't know how it's Turtle Island. It's not an island. But let's go with land of milk and honey. Okay, these are nicknames, perhaps. They say Amexum, Northwest Amexum. There's so many names. The same people that are saying, um, the same people that are saying, if there's something in the comment that needs to be stated, you guys can point of interest, can call for a point of interest and read it off. I can't teach. I lose my focus and concentration if I check for the holes, check to see who's on mute or check for chats, comments in the chats. It's an open session, so anyone can always say point of interest and bring your point of interest instead of putting it in the chat. I'm not going to read. I'm not looking at the chat.
Point of
I'm looking at
interest.
the document and I'm speaking. Go ahead,
Respect.
brother.
Respect.
You said it earlier too. You know about they putting it in the books and everything. And I don't care if you have a master's degree in history. We have to understand that the books that they read in these libraries and everywhere were written by the colonists. Ghostwriting. Exactly what you said. I yield.
That's right.
Point of interest.
Yes.
His Majesty.
Yes, sir.
Greetings. What
Islam.
do you what do you mean by um, you know, they call themselves. But what do you mean by they are putting information? No. Oh,
Um, like ghostwriting books and
Ghostwriting.
reporting.
Yeah, that way.
Okay. So the CIA writes a book, provides the content for the book, and then they'll attribute the credit to somebody named,
King
I don't
James.
know, David Johnson, right? So let's see, P. Diddy had a ghostwriter named Mace. So Mace used to write P. Diddy's raps and many other people too. Diddy is not a writer.
Okay.
He he recites ghost written material. That's what I mean by ghostwriting. So someone else writes it for you and give you the credit, right? Um, and that's what's been going on. Can I prove that? No. Other than, but if I were to use discernment, if I were to use what the scientists call hypotheses, right, an intelligent guess based on a certain level of understanding, knowledge, and understanding, knowing that the land is Morocco, it's not beyond the realms of possibility that any book talking this American or Amaru Khan thing, anything that links you back to America, has got to be America. Yes or no?
Yes.
American
Yes.
indoctrination,
One of their agencies,
indoctrination tactics.
indoctrination.
Point of interest.
Yes.
Um, so me, I'm not. I understand spirituality, and I understand being spiritual. I think of myself more like scientifically spiritual. So that's why it. Pardon. Whenever you mention the land of milk and honey, a lot of people will interpret that different ways. And the way I look at it is kind of like scientifically spiritual. Like they're kind of like explaining the colostrum, you know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
where it came from, the colostrum whore, the holy claws, and how it came down to being Christ and what it does inside your body, you know, on a molecular level. And that's how they get to when it comes down into your flesh, your whole body is happy to see it. It's the claws. And through meditation and fasting, it sacrifices the flesh and it rises back up your spine. And that's what they talking about with the Kundalini energy. So that's the only how I can, relate or understand what what's being conversed to me whenever they say certain things like the land of milk and honey, because inside the woman, that colostrum turns into the colostrum, the what they feed to their babies, and what mother feeds to us inside the man. I guess it's a gold substance, and that's where the honey term come from, land of milk and honey, and that's where we came from, you know. So that's how I kind of look at that. But too spiritual kind of throws me sometimes, and too much of everything, too much of anything kind of throws me sometimes. Hold
Point is.
Point of
Um,
interest.
Hold on one second. Point of interest. Let me reply to him real quick. Then
Yeah.
it's you, good brother, Shazak, and then you, brother Maru. Um, as above, so below, as within, so without. Right? We're connected to the land. So everything that you just said is absolutely correct. The same way a human has a chakra system, so does planet Earth. Right? You're connected. The planet Earth has the Kundalini energy. It also has a chakra system, right? But also, furthermore, remember that this land was um, sacred and secret. Christopher Columbus needed the assistance of who to get over here? Moors of Andalusia, because only the Moors knew about the land of milk and honey, Morocco of the farthest west, what they now call Tartaria. where all the buildings and everything was interconnected like a motherboard. You had people out here flying around on on flying carpets. We went over there. It was the Moors of the West that went to Europe to civilize them through Africa, perhaps. But it was the Moors in the West. It was us. We were the ones with all the technology, period. Everything started in the West, made its way to the East, and then we lost it in the West. It made it took a regression, I think you would say. Because remember, after Andalusia fell, what happened thereafter in October, 6 months later? Christopher Columbus came over here and set off a whole new world. And he didn't even step foot on the land. So these are metaphorical, like to your point, right? Allegorical names, scientific names, has a certain meaning to it. But our dilemma is legal and political in nature, not scientific, not biological, not chemistry, political, jurisprudence. Like Noble Drew Ali said, we lost it with science, we get it back with science. Okay, science. What do you mean, sir? Let's be specific here. You're not talking about mathematics. You're not talking about biology. You're not talking about chemistry. You're not talking about physics. Well, isn't jurisprudence a science? Yes, it is. Go ahead, good brother. Shazak, I yield to you, and then you, good brother Maru.
It's long. So when it comes to the books, so initially all the books was known as tricknology. So you got a vast variety of different books that are call us by all type of misnomers. You know what I'm saying? Like that land flowing with milk and honey thing. That's literally saying land flowing with pale and melanated people because melanin is golden like honey. But then that has like we have nothing to do with milk. In fact, milk is bad for you. You know what I'm saying? And so that's also a misnomer. So when you go to you can read the Quran and it goes into like people like Israel, but then we don't know that we the L, so we pass completely by that and start calling ourselves Israel instead of Moors because that's a L or ill. And same thing with the F. So all these things are misnomers. So that's the reason as you gradually go into the books, like the Bible, for example, it say that the Bible is sealed. It's only sealed to people who don't know their Moors. They don't know how to read. That's the reason why other countries say that we don't know how to read because number one, we don't know etymology and the root meaning of words and where these things come from. So we keep falling for all of the misnomers and they label us by sentences and definitions instead of who we are. Are you?
Islam, appreciate that. Yes, I mean that's the whole part of the misinformation and disinformation campaign propaganda, which is all symptoms of or mechanisms of colonialism. We'll read here about the impediments and denials, right? Those all that misinformation serves impediments and denials. It puts you in a maze in which you just keep going in circles and keep going in circles and you keep buffering. We'll get we'll we'll get to that, but good point of interest, good brother. Go ahead, good brother Maru, and then allow me to get back to the read. Go ahead, good brother Maru. Wazir
Islam,
Maru.
Islam. So the political personality on the contract, which is the treaties, would be Morocco, and that is is like what Wazir Brother Buck was saying that they were trying to hide, and it's like my name is Amaru El Polaris, and on the contract, on my rental contract, that's what it is. I have poetic overture names. I have the Medicine Walker. I have Brother North Star, um, and all of those names I'm known by. But if I was to take a tenant of mine to court, who I'm renting something to, I would have to go by that particular name. And so uh, uh, Turtle Island, it's a beautiful poetic overture, a Mexim. All of those
Yeah,
names that they keep stirring the
yeah,
pot with is to keep us in the shallow grave of not going back to that political personality, that identity that's on the contract. Because coming with that name is what's going to rise us up out of that. And all the other names, Medicine Walker, Brother North Star, are all beautiful. They're all poetic, but
yeah.
it gets you nowhere. It gets me nowhere in terms of the contract. I yield.
I get it.
That was hilarious. And so correct. And hilarious. Was hilarious and correct. It's equivalent to um, if you're gonna purchase a flight, you're in Colombia, right? If you're gonna purchase a flight to Colombia, you better make for daggone sure that it says Amaru Polaris L.
That's right, not Brother North Star, Medicine
Right.
Walker. I'm not getting on that flight. I wouldn't have got on this flight and got here. Right.
Brother, it's as strict. Okay. It's so strict that it couldn't be Amara, instead of Maru, Amara, or instead of like the U, Amaru, the U, turn that into an A, turn that into a E, or any other thing other than a U, and see what happens. It's that specific. Every letter has to match. I can't board the plane as Abdul Smith Al Kabir, but then my boarding pass says Abdullah Smith Al Kabir. It's that specific. So what do you see in the treaties? It's specific what you see in the treaties. Moroccan, Moorish. So now let's make a point here. Um, let's go. This is the Treaty of Madrid. To your point, good brother, as to what happened to us regarding the misinformation. Someone please read this entire section. Oh, what happened?
Zach McAfee.
Oh, oh, oh,
Zach. Zach Maccabee. Read it.
right here. Whoever, man. It doesn't
Let me put my screen real quick.
where you calling out the good brother?
So, it's on the piece, bro.
It's
All
all
right.
good.
I'm starting that right here. A U.S. note of March 17, 1959, addressed to the Moroccan Ministry of Foreign Affairs, referred to a note from the ministry dated October 8, 1958, in which the embassy had been informed that the Moroccan government had decided to strike all prescriptions related to Moroccan nationality from the text of the Madrid Convention. The U.S. note the U.S. note said in part, the government of the United States of America have unilaterally relinquished certain rights of Morocco with the reemergence of Morocco into independence in 1956. Considers considers that in line with historical developments. Hold on, I'm moving my screen. 1 second. Yo, how do I pull it from the other stream? I slide
What
left or right.
happened?
I got it.
Hold on.
I slid my screen to the right by accident. All right. Let me see where I'm at. The Madrid Convention protection of 1880 has become obsolete and without effect. The government of the United States take due uh, cognizance, therefore, of the action taken by the Moroccan government as set forth in its above cited note, which the United States government understands to refer only to this article of the Madrid Convention on Protection of 1880.
Okay, let's go up real quick. Read Article 15 because it's only Article 15 they're talking about. There's 18 articles, and they're hyper focused on Article 15, saying that it's struck from the record, obsolete, and without effect. Please read Article 15.
Right of Protection of Morocco, July 3rd, 1880. Any subject of Morocco who has been naturalized in a foreign country and who shall return to Morocco shall, after having remained for a length of time equal to that which shall have been regularly necessary for him to obtain such naturalization, choose between entire submission to the laws of the empire and to the obligation to quit Morocco unless it shall be proved that his naturalization in a foreign country was obtained with the consent of the of the government of Morocco. Foreign naturalization heretofore acquired by subjects of Morocco, according to the rules established by the laws of each country, shall be continued to them as regards all its effects without restriction.
Thank you.
As long.
What am I taking the time to do here? How many times do you see naturalization or naturalized and natural, all that? Well, how many times do you see that?
Yeah, it's all over the place.
It's
4
all over the place.
times. Oh yeah,
Don't
just
let
this.
nobody tell you that you haven't been that we as a people weren't naturalized. Because it's a bold-faced lie. We certainly were naturalized. The Naturalization Act of 1870. The Naturalization Act of 1870 was 10 years previous to the Treaty of Madrid of 1880. So the Treaty of Madrid of 1880 is confirming the Naturalization Act of 1870. You see, we were naturalized. There has been a thorough Americanization, a thorough and speedy Americanization of the former Moors. This is Resolution 75 of Philadelphia. We were Americanized, naturalized. Descendants of Moroccans born in America. Descendants of Moroccans born in America. Born, naturalized. Descendants of Moroccans naturalized in America. We were born naturalized under the 14th Amendment. In the, I just said it, the Naturalization Act of 1870. Remember, what's his name? Dred Scott was found as plaintiff in error because he wasn't a citizen. He wasn't naturalized at that moment. In that moment, in that time period, what was he?
Subject,
No, not just subject. Law is specific. What does it say?
a subject of Morocco.
Subject of Morocco. Any subject of Morocco, any black man, any Negro, any African American, any more who has been naturalized in a foreign country. Subject of Morocco, I highlighted it for two reasons. I just wrote one down, but dealing with Dred Scott. That's why he was found as plaintiff in error because he was petitioning the wrong court. He was petitioning the Supreme Court of the United States, but he wasn't a citizen, so therefore he didn't have the right of protections to that Constitution. Rather than to tell him, well, sir, you need to petition the Sultan in the Empire, they just said, oh, you're just a plaintiff in error. Too bad. Case is being dropped. And then they proceeded to naturalize the Moors. to then bring them into the jurisdiction. See, we weren't part of that jurisdiction. That's why the sundry free Moors of 1790 were able to achieve what they were able to achieve because they weren't citizens. They were subjects of Morocco, so they invoked that protection. So the South Carolina legislature enacted the Sundry Free More Act of 1790 of South Carolina. But it's a South Carolina law. That's why a Moor in California cannot invoke that legislative act. That's part of our misconceptions and incompetence in the past. You're not even in South Carolina. You in any other 49 states, 49 of the colonial states, and you're invoking a South Carolina act to tell them that you're a sundry free Moor. That's not how it works. You can only invoke it in South Carolina. Okay. So, what else? What's the other reason for the highlight of subject of Morocco? Because the
to
Moors
show
were, what was
to
that?
show, to show us our linguistic incorrections.
No, no, that's not the reason. Here it is again, right? A subject that was the status, the national status of the Moors. That was your nationality, if you will. But why? I mean, why? Why the word subject? Subject of Morocco. What? Why is that? Why is that the political designation?
Oh, because we've been naturalized.
No,
That was
remember that's
the
our
word.
jurisdiction.
That
Hold
was
on a
the
second. Let me
word
say this
used.
in 1 second, good brother.
Yeah.
Two things. Moorish subject is what you became when you were naturalized, but subject of Morocco means something else. Go ahead, brother Maru.
Then, to my
Point of,
understanding, the subject of Morocco was basically you were a subject of the Sultan. That's the word that they used prior to citizens. I yield.
Okay. Under what governmental structure?
point of entry.
Hold on a second. Let the brother answer. Under what under what governmental structure, good brother Maru?
Under the Moroccan political structure.
What type of political structure is what I'm asking. Very important to understand to drive my point home.
Protections.
No,
Uh,
government structure. When we're talking about
oh,
government,
it, yeah, the Moxon.
no.
Was a monarch.
What was that?
That was a monarch.
Monarchy. Under a
Well, I did
monarchy.
say the subject under the Sultan.
You did, but yes, I know. That's why I was like, I wanted you to follow up with the proper governmental structure. You were there, but you started to
Okay.
go into another room. I'm like, come up out of that room, brother. You're in the wrong room. You started off in the
Uh,
right room, and then you ended up in the other room. The monarchy,
okay.
right? So the
Yeah.
empire was a monarchy. What is it? What is it now, good brother Maru? We spoke about it earlier. No, was it yesterday? No, in our Wazir meeting. Remember, I brought you to the Constitution to show you something. Okay, let me do that.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. What we are now is an indivisible, secular, democratic republic.
Uh-huh. Morocco
Yeah,
shall be an
indivisible,
invisible, secular, democratic, and social republic.
social republic. Yes.
So
Hmm.
then, what does that mean for you? So then, how does that change our relationship? Me being the Sultan and you being the people. How does that change our relationship?
Well, that means that now we are socially responsible. We use a democratic process, and the republic means that we, the people, is who the Sultan serves.
Okay, which makes me what now? So at one point, under the monarchy, you're the subjects of Morocco. Now under a democratic republic, social republic, who became the subject? The Sultan.
Yeah. Well, you're a servant. Huh?
There you go.
Yeah.
Golly, you my slave.
That's right. I'm your servant.
And that's the
Abdul,
reason why the Sultan is the voice of the people.
correct. Abdul Al Kabir doesn't mean that I want to be the great God Allah. He knows this.
Yo, you was born for this
Abdul,
shit.
hold on a second. Hold on a second. Abdul Al Kabir means the great servant of the people. That's what my name means, literally.
He tried to
And he knows
slander your name.
he tried to well fork tongue it and twist it and some that's just what he does. It means the great servant of the people. I know that I am a trustee, I am a employee, I am a servant.
And that's the divine. That's the divine manifesting in flesh. That's why I'm here. Because without that, I wouldn't be present. I it is what it is. Islam.
Islam. So who is the empire? The people. The people came together and said and voted me in and said, "You, sir, will be the sultan. You are going to be our employee, our main, and you're going to be our CEO." And not even, I mean, even it's a higher designation. It's a founder for 7 years, right? I am the voice of the people. But why? Because the people under what? Under what process did they say so?
Under a democratic
There you go.
democratic republic process.
Well, just a democratic
Under the
process.
secular democratic.
Well, yeah, but hold up. Not a democratic republic process. Just merely a democratic process.
It's right.
Because the republic is who? The people.
The people. And
Right.
the democratic process is the vote, the
Mm-hmm.
process of voting.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And removal, impeachment, and such. The people call for it. I mean, now don't get it wrong. The people, the people don't necessarily have to be the only ones to call for it. The government can call for it, but the people cannot be deceived. The people cannot be kept in the dark about what's going on either, etc. When Trump was being impeached, didn't the whole world know about it? Then weren't the legislators informing everyone of Trump's impeachment and the procedures and all this and that?
This
Sir.
is true. This is true.
But then but he underwent a certain due process of investigation. Remember, they raided his Mar-a-Lago, um, what do you call it? The Mar-a-Lago, I forgot what they called it. What he called it, the course, golf course, I think is what it is. Then they raid that and put him through a hearing. But first, it started with an investigation. Then he had to present himself to the court based on the hearings to then now be found guilty. It's a due process that goes along with it, and it takes time, right? You don't just say, "Oh, we voted you out," and then now we're gonna go through the we vote no confidence to now go through the process, but bypass the due process. That's just ridiculous. Okay, so that's the power of the democracy. So when the Moors say, "Oh, the democracy is evil and it's bad," it's a misconcept. I'm not gonna do it here, but on your on your own time, just you know what?
Point of interest, Sultan.
Yeah,
There's a matter I need clarity on. Going back to naturalization, and going back to where it started in Philadelphia. What year was that?
1930, 1933.
1933. That was the Lenni Lenape Moors that went into that agreement, right? Um,
No. That was the Philadelphia Moorish American Society of Philadelphia.
of Philadelphia.
Hmm.
Wasn't they there? Lenny not being had nothing to do with that.
No, not
Okay.
according to that legislative act.
Okay. So my point of interest is that to their credit, after the Naturalization Act, to their genius, give the devil his due, they used the birth certificate to put it on automatic. You couldn't get out the hospital without signing that. That naturalized you automatic.
Well, the
Um,
naturalization is already confirmed. It was already agreed upon based on the Treaty of Madrid. We're gonna go back to it. And we'll examine what you just stated. Let's look up. Let's take the time. This is the Black Law Dictionary, fourth edition. AKL. Damn. Looking for what word are we looking for? The dreaded word that the Moors are afraid of.
Democracy.
There you go.
Demo crazy is what they call it.
Right. Or
Demo crazy.
the demon. It's the demon. Yeah,
They was
the
calling
word
it
plays
they
on
was
it.
calling it the demonocracy.
Right. Because it's where the unum sanctum policies of the Pope has that's his platform that they use to undergo their nefarious activities. That's incorrect. All right, democracy. What is a democracy?
I think you
I've
just
also,
passed it up. I think
I've,
democracy.
al- Point of interest. I've also heard it being a reference as democracy.
Right. So you got democratic here. There goes
Uh,
democracy. Somebody read that for me, please.
Islam, democracy, that form of government in which the sovereign power resides in and is exercised by the whole body of free citizens, as distinguished from a monarchy, or aristocracy, or oligarchy. According to the theory of a pure democracy, every citizen should participate directly in the business of governing, and the legislative assembly should comprise the whole people. But the ultimate lodgment of the sovereignty being the distinguishing feature, the introduction of the representative system does not remove a government from this type. However, a government of the latter kind is sometimes specifically described as representative democracy.
You can stop there. That form of government in which the sovereign power resides in and is exercised by the whole body of free citizens. Period. Doesn't say anything about the unum sanctum policies and the platform for it to undergo its for operations and mob rule and all these things. But yet they tell us to read the Black's Law Dictionary. I'm talking about my beautiful, loving Moorish civic brothers and sisters, the civic Moors. That's what a democracy is, the form of government in which the sovereign power resides in and is exercised by the whole body of free citizens, free nationals. So you guys are free nationals. So am I. I'm a national first, Sultan second. Okay, going back. Any subject of Morocco who has been naturalized in a foreign country. What are those foreign countries? So you go to the signature page. Can you see it? United States, Germany, Austria-Hungary, Belgium, Spain, France, United Kingdom, Italy, Netherlands, Portugal, Sweden, and Norway. So who naturalized the Moors in Brazil? Portugal. They can choose the entire submission. Who naturalized the Moors in Haiti? France. The Asians can choose them the entire submission. Who naturalized Jamaica? United Kingdom. They can choose the entire submission. Who naturalized the Panamanians? Spain. I get to choose the entire submission in a foreign country. So Spain colonized the Moors in that land through Panama. It wasn't the Moors, the naturalized Panamanian Moors, who established Panama. It was the Spaniards that established Panama. From then till now, there's never been a black, so-called black president. The United States doing better. The Moors in the United States are doing better than the Moors in Panama. They all been Spanish, Spaniard types. Continuing on. Mm, 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 mm. I mean, I guess when you're losing, you reach. It's kind of like Mike Tyson biting Evander Holyfield's ear off because he's getting beat up, right? Okay. Any subject of Morocco who has been naturalized in a foreign country and who shall return to Morocco shall, after having remained for a length of time equal to that which shall have been regularly necessary for him to obtain such naturalization, choose between entire submission to the laws of the empire and the obligations to quit Morocco, unless it shall be proved that his naturalization in a foreign country was obtained with the consent of the government of Morocco. That's the first paragraph. So, any one of you who are seeking to claim your nationality are choosing the entire submission. You come under Article 1, Paragraph 1. From 1880 up until now, all our people who remain naturalized fall under Paragraph 2. Foreign naturalization, heretofore acquired from here forward, foreign naturalization acquired by subjects of Morocco's, according to the rules established by the laws of each country, Portugal, right, Spain, Austria-Hungary, etc., shall be continued to them, regards all its effects without any restrictions. So if you choose to remain naturalized in America, then the laws of the country shall apply to you without any restrictions. You don't want the laws to apply to you, then you must do what? Paragraph 1, choose the entire submission to the laws of the empire. So Paragraph 2 is America. Paragraph 1 is Morocco. So what was Noble Drew Ali doing on the covers of the 101s when he was carrying the mother? Stepping out of the cares of the world, maritime law, American jurisdiction, stepping onto the rock. How do you spell Morocco without rock? Stepping onto the rock of salvation. He was crossing jurisdictions. He was choosing the entire submission. You think Noble Drew Ali don't know about Article 15 in the Treaty of Madrid? He showed it to us in picture form on the cover of the 101s and it went over our heads. It's exactly what he was doing while carrying the mother. Crossing back into the Moroccan jurisdiction. Period.
Uplifting fallen humanity.
No doubt. So then you go back now to the note, a U.S. note of March 17, 1959, 3 years after its so-called independence, right? Addressed to the Moroccan Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Now listen to this foolishness. Referred to a note from the ministry dated October 8, 1958, in which the embassy had been informed that the Moroccan government, now we're talking about the kingdom. Are you seeing the usurpation here? But to add insult to injury, look what they do. They had decided to strike all prescriptions relating to Moroccan nationality. So then that means that you can't call yourself Moroccan government. And your people over there, those Arabs, can't call themselves Moroccans because you're striking Moroccan nationality. You see how in trying to subjugate us, they hurt themselves? That's diabolical. From the text of the Madrid Convention. So they want it stricken. Strike all prescriptions relating to Moroccan nationality. These people need to be in the mindset of Negroes, blacks, and coloreds. They should not be allowed to come back and choose the entire submission. Okay, the U.S. note said in part. See, it was done in part, not in whole, meaning that the full weight of the state, right, is not backing that note. Who was the president of the time? 1956, 1959. Someone look that up for me, please. It was a policy from the president, an executive order of sorts, but not law passed through Congress and ratified by the president.
Point of
That's
privilege.
what makes it in whole versus in part. Go ahead, brother.
And they wasn't lawfully able to do it anyway because the Sultan at that time had stepped down, and they tried to do that after that. That's when he became the kingdom of Morocco. So now, how is he? He's not the Sultan, so he cannot do that. I yield.
Stealing my thunder. That's where I was
Point,
going.
point of interest,
Right.
I'm
Dwight
sorry.
Eisenhower.
Okay, so Dwight Eisenhower is who the president was. It was a note, it was a policy passed by his administration, but not a law passed from Congress through his administration, ratified by him, passed into law. And for that reason, first of all, they were flirting with human rights violations. And to good brother Bucks, Wazir Bucks, point of interest, the king didn't have the authority in the first place because, well, again, A, you're violating human rights, and B, you're not the sultan. So go sit down somewhere, sir. Therefore, everything had to be done in part, not in whole. The government of the United States of America having unilaterally relinquished certain rights in Morocco, that was based on the treaty, the case of France versus United States, which they came back and then in 1956 they relinquished jurisdiction. With the reemergence of Morocco into independence in 1956, no, that's not true. That's misinformation. It wasn't a reemergence. It was a change, a regime change, not a reemergence. You see how they're playing with us? It was a regime change. You went from the empire to a kingdom. You didn't get rid of the French protectorate as the empire and regain your independence as an empire. That would be the reemergence of Morocco. The reemergence of Morocco is taking place now. It took place on June 8, 2024. That was the reconstruction of Morocco, if you will, into independence in 1956 considers that in line with historical developments, Article 15 of the Madrid Convention on Protection of 1880 has become obsolete and without effect because those people are calling themselves Negroes, blacks, coloreds. You see? Our nationality became obsolete and without effect. The government of the United States takes due cognizance, therefore, of the action taken by the Moroccan government, the Arab Moroccan, not the original Moroccan. This is the reason why it's important to note chapter 47 when he said the word present, founders and true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire. Because in that present time, the Alawite dynasty that governed the empire were Arabs. That's why they didn't mind striking the nationality because they're not even Moroccan anyway. They're Arabs. Moroccans are us. They took on the likeness of our ancestors as Moroccans. Talking about the Moroccan government. No, the Arab government. As set forth in its above cited note, which the United States government understands to refer only to the United States government understands to refer only to Article 15 of the Madrid Convention. That's it, nothing else. I can't recall which article, but one of the articles, I think is 11, gives them the right to hold property and expand westward. Oh, why you ain't strike that? Oh, you're just gonna only Article 15, huh? This is how this right here in it of itself is proof that we're Moroccan. Because they don't want us to be who we are. They want us to be who they say we are. And we've been satisfying them for all these decades and centuries. We've been acquiescing to whatever it is that they want us to be instead of being ourselves. But what did Noble Drew Ali tell us to do? Moors, be your what?
Be
Be,
yourselves.
Be yourselves.
be yourselves.
Be yourself. So that's to your that's to your point. All your points regarding what we were talking about as far as the ghost writing. So they're not gonna say that it's Morocco and that you're on Moroccan land. They're gonna say that it's Amadou Khan, and then they're gonna use all the likeness of the ancient people and say that they're Amadou Khans, and they put these headdresses on them and these loincloths and say that they're Amadou Khans, and they put them in the woods. Have y'all not noticed that? All those books, they put us in the woods with loincloths, with special headdresses, and say that these are the Amadou Khans and that this was Amadou Khan. Why you don't put us next to pyramids? Why don't you put us next to the cathedrals? Why don't you put us next to the the domes and the arches? Why is it always a tree somewhere? Not to say that we're not them people too, but don't disregard the pyramids.
All that
Don't
Moroccan
disregard
architecture.
all the architecture, all the Habu property. But see, there you go. Because the people that built those buildings, that should be standing next to those buildings, that should be charging taxes and rent for the Europeans and the foreigners occupying those buildings. Those people are not Al Moroccans, Amaru Khans, Amaru Khan, none of that. They're not Americans. I don't care how you slice that linguistic pie, those semantics, whatever to bring you back to America. That's not what those people are. They're not Hebrew Israelites. They're not Moorish Americans. These people were Moroccans, Moors, with the fezzes and the turbans, with the ruby or whatever jewel on the forehead of the turban. When you go to the fair and you have the genie or whatever in the machine to read you your future, and all that. What is he wearing on his head? A turban with a jewel, and it's always dark. That's the people who built these buildings. Different fields of study. Some were engineers, some were clairvoyants. So they like showing us this clairvoyance in these little county fairs, right? Those are the people. Those are not that machine that you walk up to at the county fair to have your palm read or whatever, your future told. That's not an Amaru Khan or an American or an Al Moroccan. He's a Moroccan. There's nowhere in Noble Ali's literature that it said Al anything. He didn't say the founders and true possessors of the present Al Moroccan Empire. He didn't say descendants of Al Moroccans. He said Moroccan. It's frustrating. Why do we keep doing this to ourselves? Very frustrating. So anyhow, so that's the Treaty of Madrid. Now let's go back to the point of hand. Somebody, can I get a matriarch this time to read a portion of this title in the preamble? That's some Shah matriarchs. Okay, go ahead, good brother Rashid, or someone else, whoever.
Yes, sir. 1514, Declaration on the Granting of Independence to Colonial Countries and Peoples. The General Assembly, mindful of the determination proclaimed by the people of the world in the Charter of the United Nations to reaffirm faith in fundamental human rights, in the dignity and worth of the human person, in the equal rights of men and women and of nations large and small, and to promote social progress and better standards of life and larger freedom. Conscious of the need for
You're
the
breaking up,
creation.
brother.
Can you hear me now? Am I clear? Islam, am I clear?
You good?
Islam.
All right. Conscious of the need for the creation of conditions of stability and well-being and peaceful and friendly relations based on respect for the principles of equal rights and self-determination of all peoples and of universal respect for and observance of human rights and fundamental freedoms for all without distinction as to race, sex, language, or religion. Recognizing the passionate yearning for freedom in all dependent peoples and the decisive role of such peoples in the attainment of their independence. Aware of the increasing conflicts resulting from the denial of or impediments in the way of the freedom of such peoples, which constitute a serious threat to world peace. Considering the important role of the United Nations. Oh no. Islam, can y'all hear me, Morris?
Yeah, we could hear you. I think something wrong with the Sultan's computer. I don't think he could hear us.
Islam, you clear.
Oh, Islam.
Check Mike, can you guys hear? Can you all hear me?
Yes, yes, sir.
I can hear you now.
I don't know what happened. I thought what's happening?
Yeah, you went out again.
Your volume low, Sultan.
What was that? What was that, good brother?
The Sultan's volume is low.
Okay, let me turn it up. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. All right. So I apologize.
Hold up, now it sounds, for point of interest, it sounds like you're far back.
What I'm saying is go ahead and continue with the reading.
All right.
Hold the screen up.
All right. Yeah.
Let me fix the screen. Okay. Okay, go ahead. I'm not sure where you left off.
Y'all always on considering.
Okay.
Considering the important role of the United Nations in assisting the movement for independence and trust in trust and non-self-governing territories. Recognizing that the peoples of the world ardently desire the end of colonialism in all its manifestations. Convinced that the continued existence of colonialism prevents the development of international economic cooperation, impedes the social, cultural, and economic development of dependent peoples, and militates against the United Nations ideal of universal peace. Affirming that peoples may, for their own ends, freely dispose of their natural wealth and resources without prejudice to any obligations arising out of international economic cooperation, based upon the principle of mutual benefit and international law. believing that the process of liberation is irresistible and irreversible, and that in order to avoid serious crisis, an end must be put to colonialism and all practices of segregation and discrimination associated therewith. Welcoming the emergence in recent years of a large number of dependent territories into freedom and independence, and recognizing the increasingly powerful trends towards freedom in such territories which have not yet attained independence.
Pause right there for a second. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Can hear you clearly now.
All right, excellent. So you see, I apologize. I had to redo my reset my phone because it's better for me to talk through the phone and work with the computer. Conscious of the need for the creation of conditions of stability and well-being and peaceful and friendly relations based on respect for the principles of equal rights and self-determination of all peoples, and of universal respect for and observance of human rights and fundamental freedoms for all without distinction as to race, sex, language, or religion. You see, even on international in international law, you have to be mindful of the people's religion. That's why it's a secular state. Recognizing the passionate yearning for freedom in all dependent people. See, was that's a very important term. Dependent peoples. Foreign naturalization heretofore acquired by subjects of Morocco. These are dependent people. The Treaty of Madrid, Article 15, put us in a dependent state with the right to be independent nonetheless, or to at the very least come back home to your country. Recognizing the passionate, aware of the increasing conflict resulting from the denial of or impediments. The denial and impediments in the way of the freedom of such peoples, which constitute a serious threat to world peace. What does the Treaty of Active Algeciras call for to take place in Morocco?
Peace and
Peace and
fraternity.
security. Peace and security. It's all about peace and security in Morocco. Notice that it's talking about peace here as well. It's all based in Moroccan law. That's the point that I'm making. Considering the important role of the United Nations in assisting the movement for independence in trust and non-self-governing territories. It doesn't say considering the important role of the ICJ, does it? It says the United Nations and assisting the movement for independence and trust in non-self-governing territories. It's all about the United Nations and the C24. Recognizing that the peoples of the world ardently desire the end. Recognizing that the peoples of the world ardently desire the end of colonialism in all its manifestations. Can somebody tell me some of the manifestations of colonialism?
The driver's license.
Slavery,
No, no,
segregation.
no, 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 not the driver's license. No. Let me ask you, why do you say the driver's license?
Because I mean, to me, it's a hindrance. Um, I say the driver's license because they manifested it, they created it, um, for the purpose of control. Um, I
Well,
mean,
how do they
I
control?
basically deem anything that comes from the European is a manifestation of colonialism. You know, because they whatever they doing, they're doing it for the sole purpose of disguising who we really are.
Point of
Um,
interest.
go ahead.
I was going to say controlling capitalism.
Okay.
Point of interest.
That is what
The colonization started with slavery, and then went into segregation, um, and and then it had many other variations after segregations and civil rights act, gerrymandering, and they have all kind of ways of making it swing their way right now. But it even boils down to the gavel of the judge. If we're detained, that's perpetuating colonialism, or detaining us is perpetuating colonialism. So from slavery to detainment. I yield.
Point of interest.
Um, hold on. There's too many points of interest before I get a point. And hold on one second. I don't agree with the whole gerrymandering thing. I leave that with the impact study sessions. He lost me with that. Um, that ain't got nothing to do with us. I mean, it can be used against us, but it ain't really got nothing to do with us. Anyway, we're
It's a form of
overthinking.
manipulation to have
It
your
is a form
way.
of manipulation, but it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with us. They just use it. They didn't create it for us, is what I'm saying. They created it to manipulate their political landscape. They can use it against us, but it wasn't created for us.
I
Um,
understand. I count it though. I appreciate what you're saying, but I count it, and not because he said it, but it's just any form of manipulation to me is for to keep the colonization order. I yield.
um, well, I was looking for words like racism, um, uh, segregation, um, uh, I would say, okay, integration.
I did say
Um,
segregation. I did say
um,
that.
yeah, I know, but let me keep going. Affirmative action, um, welfare. You see how black people crying because ain't no more snaps? That's a manifestation of colonialism. They're making you dependent on the state. Driver's license. Um, I mean, I hear the Moore's perspective on matters. Uh, but as a head of state, if um, I think that it would be responsible of me to require uh, 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 public safety. So therefore, you should have some sort of certificate of sorts to show that you can drive, so that you don't be running lights and crossing lanes without knowing what the stripes on the streets mean, the double stripes versus the single stripes, and all these things, stoplights, stop signs, yield signs, what do each thing mean. Um, so I think that I would, excuse me, I would implement that uh, to control the safety of the roads. I wouldn't say to control us. That we think that the driver's license is what naturalized us. No, it was the Treaty of Madrid. It's one of their many uh, instruments that they may use within their system to prove identity. Can they do nefarious things with it? I don't know. I suppose. I mean, I know the concern is all caps name, but it's not even limited to us as a people. Um, Anyone who's naturalized, everyone is naturalized in American jurisdiction. Doesn't matter what your color is, what your nationality is. If you're an Italian American, you're naturalized. So therefore, your driver's license is going to show all caps. It's their system of doing things. But what is it that uh, directly creates impediments and denials and what are the direct mechanisms dealing with our subjugation, specifically to us, right? Um, what's his name? Greg Webb, I think his name, Craig or Greg or something Webb, the 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 journalist who exposed the Iran Contra operation in which the government, right, uh, got drug money from the black neighborhoods to finance the Iran Contra going against Guatemala. That's a manifestation of colonialism. That's directly linked to us. They dis, decimated our neighborhoods and our nation with drugs. See, I'm looking for the direct impact. Slavery, there's a question to that. There's a big question mark on the word slavery. Was it slavery or are we prisoners of war? Were we really picking cotton or are we like employees?
Most of
Were
us
we
are
all
prisoners.
slaves or was it just some of us? Because the history shows that the Moors have them as slaves as well, right? The slavery started in the 1600s. The United States started in 1776. Who enslaved us in the 1600s? Keeping in mind that the empire was in full force and effect.
Moors.
Nobody. You said who enslaved us?
Yeah, in the
Moors.
1600s.
I like the answer I just heard. We could have been enslaving ourselves, but I would say at that time nobody.
We weren't slaves. Why do we want to be slaves? Why do we want to buy into that? I don't
Point.
believe that. I don't believe that story. I don't disregard anyone who wants to believe that narrative. But I can, I can drive by. I can drive by someone's home, take a picture of them cutting the grass and say, "Oh, they're my slaves. They're cutting the grass for me." I mean, it's not you want to show me movies and pictures of people picking cotton? How do I know that they weren't picking their own cotton? I know black people, quote unquote, that has had acres and acres of land in their family for centuries. Slaves don't own land. How do these people own land for centuries? And they don't know nothing about Moorish anything. It's just in just general conversation that comes up. It's like, wow, your family owned all that land? Yeah, my family owned all this land. It's like 300 acres. They've been having it for hundreds of years. Eh,
I
So,
like
but the
all
man,
those points. I like all those points. I like how you are compartmentalizing injustices doesn't necessarily have to parallel towards colonialism. Uh, but would you throw assassinations in there? Funding assassinations,
yeah,
Khalid Muhammad, Malcolm
yes,
X,
yes, yep,
voices,
that's a direct
silence the
link.
voices. Would you
Yep, point.
throw 501c3 in there?
Yep, yep. COINTELPRO operations, controlled opposition operation.
Yeah.
There's so many of them. We just talked about one of them. The ghostwriting of books that tell you that you're American in various ways, right? The educational system, what's his name, Frederick T. Gates, D. Gates, or whatever. Uh, um, Rockefeller, the Rockefeller Foundation.
Oh, yes.
That's these are all the manifestations of colonialism. It's so many of them. There are now you have indirect attacks. You got direct attacks and you got indirect attacks. What's interesting is most of it is direct and it spills over into their society. You notice that? So they attack us with crack cocaine and they end up as crackheads too. Right? Um, but not the elites though, the common folks. That's why I tell people, man, it's not the white dude next door to you. He's not the problem. It's the elites. It's the government. Let's put it that way. It's the competent authority. It's the authorities of the United States who's the enemy. not the average white guy or white girl. It's the government. We have to start to course correct on that. We have to start to understand who's the competent authority. That white guy next door to you, he don't have no authority on nothing other than over his own household, same as you. Both of y'all are in it together. It's the president and the senators and the judges, the three branches who's implementing these denials and impediments against the people, and it's keeping us divided. But there's so many, there's many of them. Okay, just wanted to touch on some of those. Convinced the continued existence of colonialism prevents the development of international economic cooperation, impedes the social, cultural, and economic development of dependent peoples, and militates against the United Nations ideal of universal peace. It's all about universal peace, affirming that peoples may, for their own ends, freely dispose of their natural wealth and resources without prejudice to any obligations arising out of international economic cooperation based upon the principle of mutual benefit and international law. Believing that the process of liberation is irresistible and irreversible. Isn't that what the Black Panthers been crying, not crying, but preaching? Nation of Islam, everybody. The Black Liberation Army. That was the that was the name of one of these organizations. It's all about liberation. So believing that the process of liberation is irresistible and irreversible, and it's irreversible. Once you've been liberated, you can't it can't be reversed. In order to avoid serious crisis, an end must be put to colonialism and all practices of segregation and discrimination. It's like they were talking to us in the 60s. Segregation. However, what's interesting though is that segregation served us well, right? It served us well. Oh, I can't use your restaurant. We'll build our own restaurant. Oh, I can't use your water fountain. We'll make our own water fountain. Oh, I can't use your hospitals. We'll build our own hospital. Whatever you tell us that we can't do, we can't participate with amongst you, then we'll just do it ourselves amongst us. This is how Black Wall Street and all that
Our
came about.
artwork, our music, our artwork, everything just flourished. Everything, neighborhoods just flourished. Uh, the Renaissance, Harlem Renaissance was a prime example of that.
Hmm. Yes, indeed. Rosewood. I mean, there's cities and towns all over the map in which Black folks were flourishing, doing big things while being segregated. We were forced into unity. We were forced into a situation whereas we all we got. We might as well unite. The beauty of what unity brings. But in order to maintain unity, we have to maintain accountability. You can't get mad that you got caught about something or you're being called out about something and you know you're wrong. Be accountable and move on. I am a sucker for accountability. Someone says, you know what? I recognize what I did. My apologies. I was dead wrong. It will never happen again. Yeah, I'm done with the subject. You're my best friend all over again. I hate unaccountability. That makes
Ashe.
that turns me into your enemy. Accountability, I'm a sucker for it. I'm soft when it comes. You'll soften me up real quick. All right, welcoming the emergence in recent years of a large number of dependent territories into freedom and independence. Welcoming, can we be one of those? Welcoming the emergence in recent years of a large number of dependent territories into freedom and independence, and recognizing the increasingly powerful trend towards freedom in such territories which have not yet attained independence. Mhm. That trend is taking place again. And who is the forerunner? Ibrahim Traore, President, His Excellency. President Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso and his colleagues of Niger and Mali. All right, brother, continue over here. Top left.
Islam, convinced that all peoples have an inalienable right to complete freedom, the exercise of their sovereignty, and the integrity of their national territory, solemnly proclaims the necessity of bringing to a speedy and unconditional end colonialism in all its forms and manifestations. And to this end,
Pause
declares
real
that,
quick. Hold on one
or
second. Now you see, convinced that all peoples have an inalienable right to complete freedom, the exercise of their sovereignty. Now listen, and the integrity of their national territory. What does that sound like? Think about it. It comes off of one of our treaties, a treaty that makes us wealthy, convinced that all peoples have an inalienable right to complete freedom, the exercise of their sovereignty.
Act of
Triple
Algiers,
principles.
Act of
1906.
Algiers.
What are the triple principles?
The triple principles is sovereignty and independence, integrity of domain, economic
Mhm.
liberty without any
There
inequality.
you go.
Inequality. Yes,
There
sir.
you go. So the sovereignty and independence and the integrity of your national territory is the integrity of your domains, which then brings about economic liberty without any inequality. Solemnly proclaim the necessity of bringing to a speedy and unconditional end colonialism in all its forms and manifestations. Foreign Minister uh, Lavrov, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, from Russia, had already told the United Nations that the countries of the West have not undergone complete decolonization as of yet. Why hasn't complete decolonization hasn't taken place as of yet? To Lavov's point, take a stab at it.
Because the West has not decolonized yet.
But who in particular?
The empire has not arisen yet and started
There you go.
submitting their paperwork.
We represent the final blow to decolonization. From decolonization taking place in the Empire of Morocco signifies the complete decolonization. You get all countries on planet Earth can decolonize, but if the Empire of Morocco hasn't decolonized, then it's not complete decolonization. Why is that? Why is the Empire of Morocco so important to decolonization?
Because we are the original.
Because we
Yeah,
hold the
but that's not
treaty.
the answer I'm looking for.
For the permanent, because of all the territory that the Empire of Morocco owned.
Such
All those
as, be
signatory
specific. Okay,
signatory powers.
there you go. There you go.
All the European powers
There you go.
that we control.
Well, well, what's the problem with those? What's the deal with those European powers that we control? What's the
They're
deal with
keeping their
them?
mouth closed. They're keeping their mouth closed.
We've been
Yeah, but
acquiescing.
yes, but no. I'm looking for another answer. Okay. Um, let's just say it like this: those um signatory powers are also considered colonial powers. In other words, they're the ones who's maintaining colonialism. So who is the only one who could tell them to stop the colonialism is the Empire of Morocco. So the Empire of Morocco needs to come back onto the political chessboard and start to reign in the order to tell all the European powers, you shall cease all your colonial activities. You get it?
Islam.
Wrong.
That's the reason
That's
why the
law.
empire is required for decolonization because we can tell President Macron of France to leave Burkina Faso alone. So Ibrahim Traore needs us as much as we need him. You follow? Okay,
Yes.
good brother.
Sure.
Let's go through the articles.
All right. Declares that number one, the subjection of peoples to alien subjugation, domination, and exploitation constitutes a denial of fundamental human rights. Is contrary to the Charter of the United Nations and is an impediment to the promotion of world peace and cooperation. Number two, all peoples have the right to self-determination. By virtue of that right, they freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social, and cultural development. Number three, inadequacy of political, economic, social, or educational preparedness should never serve as a pretext for delaying independence.
Read
Number
that again.
four,
Read number 3 again.
inadequacy of political, economic, social, or educational preparedness should never serve as a pretext for delaying independence.
Let's try one more time.
Inadequacy of political, economic, social, or educational preparedness should never serve as a pretext for delaying independence.
Why do you think I had you read that 3 times? Anyone can answer that.
Because we were going in an entirely different direction with phases and Google Docs and it didn't require all of that.
I wasn't even, that's not even where I was going with it, but good point. That's not even the answer I was looking for, but good answer. Give me
But
another
point of
answer.
interest, ignorance of the law is no excuse.
Yes, that's correct. But I'm looking for a specific answer. What else? Was brother Polaris is close. What else were we proposing?
Oh, that was to go to
ICJ.
the United. Um, it
International
was
Court of
proposing to
Justice.
go to the UN.
Mm, wrong international body.
Yeah,
What specific international body were we talking about going?
CP. Oh, the
ICJ.
international body
The
was going
ICJ.
to
There you go.
ICJ.
Yeah, the
ICJ. Yeah.
ICJ.
There
Yeah.
you go. So, does it not require political preparedness and full competence to go all the way to the ICJ?
Yes,
How
sir.
is it at
It
one
does.
moment you're required to know the Pacific settlement of disputes, of mediation, arbitration, conciliation, adjudication, to then exhaust those measures before we could even call in the United Nations and the C-24 and potentially go to the ICJ? That makes absolutely no sense. So
Yeah.
our inadequacies, we are more than politically adequate. We're ready to move forward with decolonization.
Your point of interest. It also ties into the 1880 Treaty of Madrid, Article 15, when it says without delay. Without delay. So this is basically telling us without delay also. Like
Indeed.
we who were we to say who were they to say certain individuals to say when we were ready? Once
Right.
we said that, once the Sultan was brought out of a shallow grave and the people elected him, at that point, this is on how we should have been moving forward, right? Or is the
That's
Sultan's,
right.
this is on how we should have been moving forward. And good brother Wazir Marvel was right. It wasn't for them to have to tell us we needed 10 different phases. The United Nations and the treaties are telling us we're supposed to have been doing this without delay. But I'm not. I yield.
Gratitude, good brother. Now read the title and Article 33, please.
Islam.
United, oh, you got it, brother. Islam.
I read it.
United Nations Charter, Chapter 6, Pacific Settlement of Disputes, Article 33. The parties to any dispute, the continuance of which is likely to endanger the maintenance of international peace and security, shall first of all seek a solution by negotiation, inquiry, mediation, conciliation, arbitration, judicial settlements, resort to regional agencies or arrangements, or other peaceful means of their own choice. 2. The
You can
security.
leave it right there. I'm
Okay.
sorry. No, you can leave it right there. I'm sorry. Subsection 1. Does that sounds like decolonization? Let's just use our common sense here. Does that
No,
sound
it
like,
doesn't.
okay,
No.
let me give you two choices. Does that sound like decolonization, or does that sound like governmental operations amongst countries?
Who are established already.
Like states settling their disputes.
So the part where it says, now let me tell y'all a little secret. Everybody listen up. Wazirs in particular. The part that says resort to regional agencies or arrangements. All right.
This is
This is
a
where
procedural law
this
that is more geared toward established sovereign states, which we were
that's
not at
correct.
the time.
That's correct. But hold on, good brother. I was making a point. That part, resort to regional agencies or arrangements. That statement, that sentence right there, is the foundational reason for the establishment of the Wazir Regional Council. Y'all didn't know that, did you? Kanye probably didn't know that. That's the reason for the establishment of the Wazir Regional Council. Remember, it's a regional agency. It's a regional organization. The AU is a regional organization or a regional agency. So when it says resort to regional agencies or arrangements, that's what it's talking about to set up a block, BLOC, regional organization. So Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali came together and established the AES or the ASS, Alliance of Sahel States. Following this procedure, resort to regional agencies or arrangements to where you come together, you created an organization to come together and for your common defense, or for whatever reason. The BRICS is not for their common defense. The BRICS is for economic, to even economically destroy the United States. It's for economic warfare against the United States in the West and the petrodollar. The reason for the BRICS. NATO, on the other hand, is for their common defense. You see, these are regional organizations, regional agencies. That's where the idea of the Wiser Regional Council come from. Now you know. But you see, as you all are noticing, this has nothing to do with colonized people who are dependent, subjugated, and miseducated. How do you expect for them to go from mergers and acquisitions to becoming a judge? It doesn't work like that. There's certain occupations that you can be self-taught in. There's others that it requires real training. You can't go from um, being a mailman to now one day you wake up and you say, oh, I'm just going to start building bridges. And you start studying about building bridges and becoming an engineer. No, you have to go to you have to go to school. You need that requires specialized training. Open heart surgery, law. It takes 8 years for you to become an attorney. It takes a lifetime to even become a judge, to even smell a bench. All honors due for the work, but a little bit too credit was given. So now, so what's the issue? Okay, let's go to Article 11. See, remember, we were reading this over here. The non-self-governing territories, the C-24 non-self-governing territories, United Nations Charter, Chapter 11, Declaration regarding non-self-governing territories. Please read Article 73, please. All the way to Part E, A, B, C, D, and E.
Article 73. Members of the United Nations which have or assume responsibilities for the administration of territories whose people have not yet attained a full measure of self-government recognize the principle that the interests of the inhabitants of these territories are paramount and accept as a sacred trust the obligation to promote to the utmost within the system of international peace and security established by the present charter the well-being of the inhabitants of these territories, and to this end, A, to ensure with due respect for the culture of the peoples concerned, their political, economic, social, and educational advancement, their just treatment, and their protection against abuses. B, to develop self-government, to take due account of the political aspirations of the peoples, and to assist them in the progressive development of their free political institutions, according to the particular circumstances of each territory and its peoples and their varying stages of advancement. C, to further international peace and security. D, to promote constructive measures of development, to encourage research and to cooperate with one another, and when and where appropriate, with specialized international bodies with a view to the practical achievement of the social, economic, and scientific purposes set forth in this article. And E, to transmit regularly to the Secretary General for information purposes, subject to such limitation as security and constitutional considerations may require, statistical and other information of a technical nature relating to economic, social, and educational conditions in the territories for which they are respectively responsible other than those territories to which chapters 7 and 8 apply.
Islam.
Islam.
Now,
Islam.
how do we expect to undergo inquiry, right? uh, Mediation, arbitration, conciliation. These are all judicial reform mechanisms that requires skill sets, that requires the knowledge. It's presumed that he has the knowledge, so therefore it has been allowed for him to wear all these different hats. But when you lift the veil, you start to see things a little bit better. You see things a little bit clearer. So if you were to use a little bit of common sense, you'll start to recognize that, okay, how is it that we're expected to do mediation, arbitration, conciliation, and all these things, specific settlement of disputes, which is advanced law, while at the same time, in the non-self-governing territories, Declaration regarding non-self-governing territories, Article 73, subsection B, it states to develop self-government. So you got to develop it. You can't go from 0 to 100, right? You're not born an adult, right? You got to grow up from an infant all the way to geriatrics, or at least 18, to develop self-government, to take due account for the political aspirations of the peoples, and to assist them, right? Assist them in the progressive development. So you got to develop self-government, And in the development of your self-government, there's a progressive development. You see? In it of itself, the development in and of itself requires progressive development, meaning you have to keep building out all these different institutions. So it says progressive development of their free political institutions. We have to develop it. That includes the courts. That includes our judicial reforms. So how in one moment we need assistance in developing, but yet on the other hand, you're demanded and expected to just know it all already. Come on. So development of their free political institutions according to the particular circumstances of each territory. So every territory has their own circumstances. In our territory, our circumstances is that of an empire, a vast empire that has a whole lot of sovereignty and authority and power and sway over the politics of the world. Islam and its peoples and their varying stages of advancement. In our varying stages of advancement, we underwent a coup d'etat, attempted coup d'etat. These are, and that's a particular circumstance of our territory. What else is a particular circumstance? Well, it's very particular. It's very unique because we're one of the very few, if not the only one, that has treaty relations as the sovereigns within that contract, the dominant authority in that contract. 4 elements to a contract. Can somebody tell me the 4 elements to a contract? I know some of the old PGFs got to know. You new folks may not, but somebody knows the 4 elements of a contract, and the AG can tell me.
Parties must be known. Who's inferior? Who's superior?
Yep.
What are
And
the
what else?
terms and conditions of contract, and how
How to
to
enforce the
enforce
contract.
said contract?
How to enforce that
Wazir Buck,
contract.
you were following protocol. You just got bum rushed.
Yeah, and that should explain to you their point of interest just by Brother Buck knowing that, because that was talked about years ago that he should have been had his nationality. I yield.
hmm And also thank
I'm
you,
sorry I had to
Louis,
say it, Wazir Baru.
and thank you, Louis Vega, because it was Louis Vega and Brother Buck that was going at it. I'm trying to answer that, but I appreciate that. I love it. It's lovely. Both of you know the answer. What is it? What is it? What is the first element? Anyone? Seneca, you're marking up my screen, good brother. What's the first element? The parties must be known, right?
Parties must be known.
Parties must be known.
Second,
Who's superior and who's inferior?
okay. Third,
I mean, someone's asking someone for a favor and it ain't us.
Terms and conditions.
Third,
third.
terms and conditions of a contract.
Fourth,
How to
How to
enforce
enforce the
said
contract.
contract.
exactly. Period. So in the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, in the Treaty of Madrid, in the Act of Algeciras, who's superior?
Moroccan.
Morocco.
Morocco.
Who's inferior?
The United States.
All
And
the
who else?
signatory power.
All the
All the
signatory
signatory
powers.
powers.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So
Rub my feet. Rub my feet.
rattled off 2
Rub
different
my
types of
feet.
treaties.
Here. Yeah.
Kanye, you got to go on mute, brother. I just rattled off. Kanye, you got to go. Kanye got the
Sorry,
kids.
so I was messing with
No,
my
you good. So don't tell me that the brothers don't take care of their children. You know, that's misinformation. I just rattled off 2 types of treaties. What are the 2 types of treaties that I just rattled off? What type of treaty is a treaty of peace and friendship?
Commerce.
Commerce.
Okay, my
Multilateral.
bad. No.
Bilateral,
It's gonna
multilateral.
be. It's gonna be. It's gonna be. Go ahead. Go ahead, Mofo.
Bilateral and multilateral.
There you go. Gratitude, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Your Excellency. Your Excellency. Right. So the Treaty of Peace and Friendship was bilateral. The Treaty of Madrid and the Act of Algeciras are multilateral. So in the bilateral Treaty of Peace and Friendship, the empire is superior, the United States is inferior. In the multilateral treaties, Treaty of Madrid, Act of Algeciras, the empire is uh, superior, and all the signatory powers, all 12 of them, are inferior. Thank you, Mofa. All right, Islam. So yeah, so you see, we, we how can we be expected to be Judge Joe Brown off the rip and Matlock, right? We out here playing these judicial games. Um, that's this is the reason why the Moors, the Wazir said, "Well, who's gonna write the documents?" Because he doesn't. I mean, we're not lawyers, but neither is he. Can we learn the basic principles of law? Like, as an example, our honorable Attorney General has done an excellent job at learning the basics of law to apply it to the empire, right? And the protections of the empire and His Majesty the Sultan and the people. But I cannot expect Kanye to be a judge tomorrow. He's still in his varying stages. I'm in my varying stages. Everyone are in their varying stages of advancement and learning. That's the reason why assist them in the progressive development of their free political institutions. That's also the reason why inadequacy of political, economic, social, or educational preparedness should never serve as a pretext for delaying independence. Because why? You're supposed to be assisting them anyway. It's you who subjugated them. It's you who miseducated them. So it's up to you. It's you. It's your responsibility as the administrative power or the colonial power or the trustee or the administrator to clean that up. Clean up your mess. That's why these things are called reforms. You got to reform these things, right? What is a judicial reform as it relates to the empire, the sovereign state, the superior versus the United States? Well, the integrity of domains, which means the judicial reforms means that Moroccan law shall and must reign supreme again, not American law. So is the judicial reform in Morocco to replace American law with Moroccan law and Moroccan judges and Moroccan prosecutors and Moroccan attorney generals and Moroccan law enforcement officers, the Moorish authorities who are superior to the American authorities. That's the judicial reform. That's the integrity of domains. Y'all follow what I'm saying?
Yes, yes.
Does that make sense? Am I clear? Am I clear? Am I Taj Tariq voice? Am I clear?
Clear.
Yes,
Indeed, indeed, indeed.
um,
You see? We're reforming everything, undoing what was done. But what they had, like Taj Tariq would say, what they think they done against us, they did for us. Mm. That's why I tell y'all, don't look at the driver's license as the devil. It's beneficial to you in the long run. It might be the boogeyman in your black status, but in your Moroccan status, oh, it's another story. All that was once a liability becomes an asset. Go study Rich Dad Poor Dad. Learn about liability versus assets. In case you don't already know that. Anything that's a liability becomes an asset depending on your status in your jurisdiction. Okay, good brother. Let's go ahead and press on and finish. It's not too much longer left of resolution 1514. You're at principle number 4. Or whoever, anyone.
Number 4, all armed action or repressive measures of all kinds directed against dependent peoples shall cease in order to enable them to exercise peacefully and freely their right to complete independence, and the integrity of their national territory shall be respected.
Pause real quick. This should make you feel a little comfortable. All armed action or repressive measures of all kinds directed against dependent peoples. But see, what we're talking about here is not only in your subjugated status, but even worse in your self-development stages, your various stages of development and advancement. There shall and cannot be any armed actions or repressive measures, right? Which would then it shall cease in order to enable them to exercise peacefully and freely their right to complete independence, sovereignty and independence, and the integrity of your domains. You see how this is Moroccan law. It's all based on our treaties. And the more you read these international documents from the Charter, the more you'll see the correlation with language coming from our treaties. We are the sovereigns, even over the United Nations. That was the regime that was established by France. First, it was the League of Nations, which then became the United Nations. This is based in Moroccan law. So the complete independence and the integrity of their national territory shall be respected. So we can invoke this provision in our documents. That absolutely applies to us 100%. So that's why if and when it comes to a point where we got to have an advisory opinion from the ICJ, that's what it would be for. That's what they're going to point out. That's exactly what they're going to point out. They're also going to point out Article 73, Section B of the Charter. Declaration of Non-Self-Governing Territories, where it talks about the free political, assisting them through the free political development of their free political institutions and their varying stages of advancement. So the judges, the 15 judges of the ICC, someone got to mute themselves, Wazir. I think that's you, Wazir Amaru. The 15 judges of the ICJ are going to say, yes, United States, this is your obligation. Because remember, let's go up here. The General Assembly, mindful of the determination proclaimed by the peoples of the world in the Charter of the United Nations to reaffirm faith in fundamental human rights, in the dignity and worth of the human person, in the equal rights of men and women, and of nations large and small, and to promote social progress and better standards of life in larger freedoms. This is the General Assembly. 193 member states, which includes the United States. So every one of those member states of the General Assembly, this is the mandate that they shall adhere to. And by the way, you see, good brother, the XV, remember I was telling you it's not an article, it's a code. What's the code? It's up here, 15th session. General Assembly, 15th session. So that XV means the 15th session. If you say if you see the other one that we saw was 16, right? XV1. That's the 16th session, not the 16th article. Just for clarity. Okay, brother. Sorry about that. Continue. Where were we? Right here. All armed suppression, all armed actions. Number 5. Immediate steps.
Immediate steps shall be taken in trust and non-self-governing territories, or all other territories which have not yet attained independence, to transfer all powers of the peoples of those territories without any conditions or reservations, in accordance with their freely expressed will and desire, without any distinction as to race, creed, or color, in order to enable them to enjoy complete independence and freedom. Number 6,
Continue.
any attempt aimed at the partial or total disruption of the national unity and the territorial integrity of a country is incompatible with the purposes and principles of the center of the United States, of the
Of the
principles
chart.
of the Charter of the United Nations.
Yes, sir.
Number
Continue.
7, all states shall observe faithfully and strictly the provisions of the Charter of the United Nations, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and the present declaration, on the basis of equality, non-interference in their internal affairs of all states, and respect for the sovereign rights of all peoples and their territorial integrity.
Read that one more time, please.
All states shall observe faithfully and strictly the provisions of the Charter of the United Nations, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and the present declaration, on the basis of equality, non-interference in internal affairs of all states, and respect for the sovereign rights of all peoples and their territorial integrity.
All states, which includes the United States, and any one of those 193 member states, shall observe faithfully and strictly the provisions of the Charter of the United Nations. We just read Declaration on the Granting of, what is it called? Regarding non-self-governing territories. Article 73, Section B, right? When it talks about a system is to develop their free political institutions. Right? What else? The Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the President Declaration. What's the President Declaration? Remember in the C-24 it told us that this Resolution 1514 is referred to as the Declaration on the basis of equality, non-interference in the internal affairs of all states, and respect for the sovereign rights of all peoples and their territorial integrity. Let's go back to number 5 real quick. Immediate steps shall be taken in trust the non-self-governing territories. See, this is the reason why we have to go through the United Nations, the C-24, to get this territory recognized as a non-self-governing territory. Y'all see it now? That's the process. Amaru, am
The
I correct or
veil
am
is
I?
removed.
What's up? I meant Your Excellency. When I say Amaru, I meant the Minister of Foreign Affairs. But go ahead, Brother Polaris. What were you saying?
I was answering your question. Yes, the veil has been removed. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Islam, Wazir. Right? Immediate steps shall be taken in trust in non-self-governing territories. We need to get this area, this territory, this inland, where is it at? Recognized. You see the parts that's white, United States of America and Alaska, Al-Aqsa. Why is that not considered a non-self-governing territory? But you got Samoa and nah. Let's talk about this whole thing right here. And as a matter of fact, all up and down, north, central, and south, the whole thing. But in our case, we're talking about right here. You have to go through the who? C-24. Special Committee on Decolonization. You see these indigenous peoples? These don't look like Europeans, do they? Why is it the United Nations are always highlighting indigenous looking people, melanated, dark skinned people? Whenever you go through the United Nations um website, that's all you see. It's dark skinned or dark skinned indigenous melanated people all over the place, whether it be Samoa or wherever. You don't ever see proud white folks. No, those are the ones behind the shadows, control, conducting their colonial activities against these people who are being represented in the United Nations. All those declarations, the Declaration of Human Rights, rights of indigenous people. When you pull them up and you see the pictures associated with it, you always see indigenous people, dark melanated people. They may not necessarily be black per se, like an American that you would recognize from Compton, California, but they certainly don't look like a blonde hair, blue eyed person. It's always someone dark of some sort. It's usually missing us though, because we're not making that push. They need to feature our pictures in the United Nations with fezzes and turbans on. How do we accomplish that? Well, again, the United States must become a non-self-governing territory. Getting ready to close out. So immediate steps shall be taken in trust and non-self-governing territories, or all other territories which have not yet attained independence. So yeah, because guess what? Or all other territories, because even if this is just one way. That's just one way. The trust in non-self-governing territories getting this part of the world recognized as such. What's another way? Enter into friendly relations and diplomatic relations with other nations, particularly those that may undermine the foreign policy of the United States. Hint, hint, i.e., put pressure on the Trump administration to have to say, Sultan, I've been in receipt of your correspondences. I apologize for not corresponding back with you. I've been dealing with the deep state and the radical left. But I see that you're talking to Ibrahim Traore. I've got a better proposition for you. Yeah, I thought so. What you got, sir? You see, put pressure on them with Ibrahim Traore and Russia and Putin and President Xi and the BRICS and any of those territories or organizations, international bodies that would undermine the foreign policy of the United States, that threatens the foreign policy of the United States and the West as a whole. It is of high importance for Trump's golden era to be associated with the friendly relations of the Empire of Morocco, period. Period. That handshake that Noble Drew Ali has in his literature, a melanated hand and a pale hand. Yeah, that's the cooperation of the Moors and the Europeans. Will be powerful. But who runs the show? The Empire of Morocco. Do your thing, United States. Just make sure you pay taxes and adhere to human rights. Because there is no derogation, it's just cogence. There shall be no derogation in human rights. Just cogence. Look that up, Moors. JUSCOGEN. We'll talk about that one of these days. Just cogence. It's an international law principle. A preemptive international law principle is paramount. It's the top of the top. Human rights. That's why they couldn't um, pass legislation to uh, make it in whole for the striking of the Moroccan nationality of the Treaty of Madrid. It's against human rights. All peoples deserve a nationality, right? You can't take away someone's nationality. Hell wrong with you. That's genocide, Lord. So the United States and the Kingdom of Morocco under the Alawite dynasty were complicit in such a despicable act of trying to get rid of the Moors nationality. But Article 15 in the Treaty of Madrid stands, so it didn't work. We just needed to get to work and choose the entire submission to the laws of the empire. Islam, so it's there once again. Or all other territories which have not yet attained independence, to transfer all powers to the people. So whenever you see me say Ashe and power to the people, that's where it comes from. But I personally find its foundation elsewhere, though. Who else says power to the people? Oh, come on, Moors.
Revolutionaries.
Yeah, but who in particular, man, is not is
The
it's a
Black
particular group.
Panthers,
Okay,
Panther
thank
Party.
you.
You know,
Thank you. Fred Hampton and
poverty,
them.
Islam.
Power to the people, because the power lies in the people. We just read over democracy, didn't we? Okay, then.
Islam.
Um, so transfer all power to the peoples of those territories without any conditions or reservations, in accordance with their freely expressed will. What is the will? What is the will?
The
AG, you can't
will of the
answer.
people. The will of the
What is the
people.
will of the people? Where do we find the will of the
Constitution.
people? Who said that?
The Constitution.
Who said that?
Brother North
What?
Star.
Who said the Constitution? Wazir Amaru, that was you?
Yeah.
Then yes, indeed. The will of the people is compiled in a document called the Constitution. You see, so that's why Article 10 is the people's clause, and the Sultan is the people. The Sultan is attached to the people. Remember, it said the okay. Let's go back. Democracy. What does it say? The form of government in which the sovereign. So, what does Article 10 say? Okay, so the sovereign power resides in, right, the people. Okay. What does Article 10 say of the Constitution, of our illustrious Constitution? Article 10, the Sultan shall preside over the Prime Minister as the absolute sovereign authority in all matters of political, legal, judicial, education, economic, social, and military affairs. It's almost like I'm your snitch. like, like I got to report back to you about what's going on within the political, legal, judicial, educational, economic, social, and military affairs of the country. Because you're the one who actually have the sovereign authority. Article 10 is for the people. And it was being usurped and circumvented, and I wasn't having it. Smear me all you want. The law is the law. I could care less.
Islam.
Islam. Um, back to the oh, right here. Oops. What was that? Right here. Okay. And then freely express will and desire without any distinction as to race, creed, or color. And look how color is in like the French version. In order to enable them to enjoy complete independence and freedom. That's what the Moors want. That's what we shall get. Complete independence and freedom from our subjugation, our colonial status, North, Central, South, Morocco. The land was misclassified just as well as the people were misclassified. Now, granted, the Sultan um, accepted the American nationality. I'm not sure he accepted in today's age for the people to not even know Morocco as the land, and instead it's the American continent, North, Central, and South. No. So when he talks about, well, you're talking about a region versus a continent. The continent is the country. Country ain't limited to a region. You might say the North Gate, if you will, might be the seat of power, but it still extends all the way down up from Al-Aqsa all the way down to Brazil and the adjoining islands. You'll find the same buildings there, all the same Habu property in each one of those, all up and down. Whether it be a mound, whether it may be pyramids, the Pyramid of the Sun in Mexico, cathedrals, etc. So how do we gain access to our vast estate? Decolonization. How do we decolonize? We go through the C-24. We get this side of the world recognized as a non-self-governing territory, while at the same time exercise our political reforms in from the perspective of communicating with other nations. Our excellency, our excellent, His Excellency, Minister of Foreign Affairs, has been diligent on the task of both um, getting contact information for these nations, as well as working towards putting the package together, the dossier necessary for the C-24 to submit as an application to begin the process of recognizing this side of the world as a non-self-governing territory with DJ Alexander Wazir, DJ Alexander Bey of Ali Bamu as our representative on behalf of the empire. With that, I yield any questions, comments, or concerns before we close out.
Point of privilege.
Yes, sir.
Welcome back, Abdul, homeboy from around the way. Having fun with your erudition. There was one thing got answered for me. I've always had in the back of my mind, how come the United States wasn't nowhere listed on the non-self-governing territory? In 2.5 years, that question's been in the back of my mind. It just got answered tonight. I'm thank you and welcome back.
Oh, wow. Excellent. I'm glad I was able to answer that question for you, good brother. And thank you for welcoming me back. And I've always appreciated your points of interest and your discernment and your utter intelligence. So thank you, Wazir Islam. Any other points,
Islam.
questions, or
Islam.
concerns?
Islam. Go ahead,
Yes,
brother.
sir.
Oh, I just wanted to say something. I really enjoyed the class. Very informative. Very informative. Gratitude.
Islam. Absolutely welcome. What I'm here for. What I've always been here for. Anyone else?
Islam Mo.
Islam, Mo.
We finally met your class and I enjoyed it myself. You had a lot of jewels,
Islam, Noble.
and so did my Empress.
Gratitude, Noble. Islam.
All right, Mo.
Yes,
That's
brother.
all I
Islam,
want.
brother.
I learned a
Seneca,
lot.
what's happening, good brother?
How you doing? How you doing, His Excellency? I learned a lot. I learned a lot. I learned a lot, and I'm just enjoying just the I say the update on everything that I know most of us that need to know, and I yield.
Islam. Islam, good brother Seneca. I love that name, by the way. That attribute. Yeah, and there's more to come, and there's a lot to learn, but more importantly, there's a lot of work to be done. So we need our sleeves rolled up, all hands on deck. We're still undergoing the restructuring, while at the same time moving forward with the necessary uh, political reforms to get this part of the world recognized as a non-self-governing territory. while at the same time communicating with other nations, right? Um, in basketball, you don't just have the 3-point shot. You got the 3-point shot, you got the fadeaway, you got the dunk, you got the layup, and you got the throw up, right? Sometimes you just throw something up and it goes in. In other words, there's different ways to score the basket.
Pick and roll.
Respect.
Yeah, right. So then there's different ways to accomplish decolonization. It's not limited. The United States could just call right now and say, you know what, Sultan, it's time to get into diplomatic relations, and that in it of itself could begin the process. But what is the lowest hanging fruit, especially for those of us who are just coming up out of colonialism? Lack of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of political science. We barely understand jurisdiction. Like I said earlier, we're in Moscow trying trying to enforce the sundry the sundry free more act of 1790. I'm being extra here, but right, in order for you to invoke a state legislative act, you have to be you got to be in that state. You can't be in another state invoking another state's legislative act. Now, if you're talking about federal law, that's a different story. It crosses borders, but the Sundry Freemore Act of South Carolina is for South Carolina. So this is proof that we don't, but it's also proof of our slow development. We're growing. They see that. They see that. We went from, like I said, from thinking that from Africa to now saying, okay, we're from here, but we're still struggling with the American part. Okay, well, at least you got one part straight. You're from here. Now let's work on your American thing. It's not American, and it's not America. You're Moroccan, and it's Morocco. Period. Period. America is the Wizard of Oz, and Morocco is Kansas. America is the Matrix. Morocco is Zion. Two separate jurisdictions. That's why you need the driver's license. The driver's license is your way of hacking into the Matrix, so that you can say, okay, I need some medical assistance here. I done broke a leg. I got to go to the emergency room. Morocco, the empire doesn't have an emergency room, not as it assesses to the ownership of the empire, but Morocco does have one on its land. Oh.
Mm.
And the public services cannot be alienated. 1906. Where is it? Y'all about to have me going longer than I need to. I just had it pulled up the other day. It should be it right here. Yeah, it is it. Okay. The Treaty of the Act of Algeciras. We just covered this. We just talked about this in the Wiser Council meeting. Let me touch on it real quick. Article 105. With a view to ensuring the application of the principle of economic liberty without any inequality. Remember the words, remember the terms. We saw that similar. Well, not that one, but we did see integrity of domains. Anyhow, economic liberty without any inequality. The signatory powers declare that none. The signatory powers, as the Europeans, the colonial powers, they declare that none of the public services in the Sharifian Empire can be alienated for the advantage of private interest, or you could say foreign interest. You see? So whatever you got over here, we could use. Okay, fair enough. In these varying stages, we're growing, whatever, we've been subjugated. Okay, in the meantime, in between time, we got to hack into your system. So give me the passcode. What's the passcode? Your driver's license. Your state ID. You see how the story changes when you become a Moroccan? Now you can go into the matrix and come back to Zion, and those in the matrix cannot come into Zion. Oh, So an American cannot come into the Moroccan jurisdiction. Moroccans can go into American jurisdictions and use their hospitals, use their post services, use everything, the public services, the 911s, the police, if need be, because they're in Morocco, in the Sharifian Empire, in our homeland. So it's a matter of it'll take some time, but over time you'll start to correct your concepts and the understanding of what this really looks like and what jurisdiction is, what jurisdiction truly is.
Bring my bike in from.
And in our case, and by the way, Seneca, good brother Seneca, you got to mute yourself. And in our cell, and in our case, our jurisdiction is the Empire of Morocco, the Sharifian Empire, the Moorish Empire, or the present Moroccan Empire. But what jurisdiction are we in? What does it say here? Paragraph 2. Foreign naturalization heretofore acquired by subjects of Morocco according to the rules established by the laws of the United States of America shall be continued to them, the Moors, the subjects of Morocco, or to the no, continue to them, the countries, regards also all the laws shall continue to them, regards all its effects without any restrictions. So what we're trying to get the people to understand and do is choose the entire submission and come back home to Morocco. Now it's not just physically, it's mentally, it's spiritually. There's got to be a spiritual and mental decolonization to take place. You have to shed the Western ways. You got to shed the misconceptions. You got to stop clinging on to principles that dilute to slavery. Study and make yourself approved. That's why these classes are showing you the reference points so you can turn around and go back and study and make yourself approved. Hey, I didn't write that. Jay Bay didn't write it. They wrote it. And by the way, the Act of Algeciras will cover this, but the Act of Algeciras, Sultan Abdelaziz, his mother, uh, suggested that he spoke with for him to speak to the German government about what he should do about the empire falling. Because in the time the empire was falling. So he went to the German government. What did they tell him to do? You guessed it. You need to bring the Moors back. Put them back into power. And this is how the Act of Algeciras was born. Notice that Germany has never gotten rid of their Moorish relics and statues and things throughout their cities, manholes and everything. Statues everywhere. You don't see now statue, nothing similar, not even close to that in America or on this land based on their jurisdiction. But you still see it in Germany, in other parts of the world, Spain and stuff, but mostly Germany. But it was the foreign signatory power, colonial power, European, who told the Sultan to enact the Act of Algeciras and bring the Moors back. The Moors never came back, though. So then in 1912, they came with the Treaty of Fez and they gave that power and authority to France and told France to help get the Moors back, and they still didn't help the Moors come back. They were supposed to help bring the Moxons back by uh, uh, inaugurating a new regime. That's what it says. I will go over that. Spoiler alert, I guess. You see, and that's the story. That's how we ended up under a protectorate because the Moors never came back. Not by full, not 100% fault of our own. The Europeans didn't want to bring us back, so they just basically kept this a secret. And our own helped keep the secret. And their secret societies and their Prince Hall Masonry, etc., Shriners. You know, you got the black Shriners and you got the white Shriners, right? We did it to ourselves. We gotta kick ourselves in the ass for this. Could have been brought back the empire long ago, or we didn't necessarily even have to lose the empire. Islam. So, with that said, we'll go ahead and get ready to close out. It was a fun class. I appreciate the attendance. Thank you all for your attention, and please take the reference points, go back, study, and make yourself approve. We'll see you again next week for another session. Long live the empire and His Majesty the Sultan. Peace and love, Moors.
Long live the empire of
Long live
Morocco
the
and His
empire.
Majesty the Sultan.
Long live the empire.
Brother Abdul,
Empire
homeboy from
Morocco and
around the
Majesty
way,
Sultan.
welcome back.
Islam, empire, empire.
Islam.
We're the empire. Peace and love.
Peace and love.